Hey everyone, welcome to the Crypto Masters podcast. My name's Brian.
And I'm Ross.
Just kidding. My name's Ross.
Oh yeah, that's right. My name's Brian.
And you know what, guys? This is a good little segment. I guess it's not brews and blockchain today, Brian, because I have no brew. I forgot to go to the grocery store. But, this is a section of the podcast we like to talk about news around the crypto space, good, bad, ugly. We cover it all.
Doesn't matter, Ross. We are, no matter what, we are the Crypto Masters.
We're the Crypto Masters. And hey, before we go any further, I got to say, we're not financial advisors, so this is not financial advice.
Right.
But mainly we're talking about news today, so that doesn't even matter. But, let's get right into it.
That's true.
There's been a lot of talk in the crypto space. We're going to talk SEC Kraken today. We're going to talk Coinbase and their staking, how it's different, maybe similar. I don't know. We'll get to it. And also, what we'll talk about first is Munger's article in the Wall Street Journal, or maybe lack thereof. I mean, shoot, you want me to scroll? If you're watching live stream on YouTube, you can watch me scroll, but that's it. It's like less than a 2-minute read.
I mean, it was really it was an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal on February the 2nd of 2023.
Titled "Why America Should Ban Crypto." I guess this little subtitle here. It isn't currency. Hold on. Let me do a better voice. It isn't currency. It's a gambling contract with a nearly 100% edge for the house.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yep. You're welcome. And scene.
Right. So, and let's say who Charlie Munger is. I think everybody knows Warren Buffett, essentially a long-time investor, has an incredible track record, and essentially for the last however many years been doing their investments through Berkshire Hathaway. And Charlie Munger has sort of been his number two man for a long time. And Charlie's in his 90s.
Mini-me.
Yeah. Charlie is in his 90s and is a very open, obviously, opponent of all crypto, apparently. So anyway, Ross, so he writes this article on February 2nd. You want me to jump in, or you want to?
Yeah, you've got a good summary, Brian. You jump on in.
So I just, want to fairly kind of summarize his thing. He says, there's been a lot of cryptocurrencies that have become publicly traded without any government pre-approval or disclosures. So, I mean, that's kind of his first argument. From there, I would say, well, yeah, not really, because ICOs, initial coin offerings, have stopped in the U.S. some years ago. I mean, they came out. There were ICOs after the 2017 run-up, and that was the time when there were a lot of those, and a lot of them turned out to be nothing. So, yeah, I mean, that's true, no doubt. But he essentially says like it's still ongoing, and it's not. At least not in the U.S. No, there haven't been any of these in the U.S. in several years. I don't think Mr. Munger understood that. So then he says, in some cases, a promoter has obtained the cryptocurrency for almost nothing. Like a promoter, meaning a founder or someone who was involved in the making of the crypto project. And then he says, and then later, the public buys at much higher prices without knowledge of the promoter's purchase. So, and that's probably true to a big extent, to some extent. I don't know about the knowledge part, because I think, Ross, you and I look at these new tokens that come out, and normally you get a breakdown of, hey, here's the tokenomics, right? Here's how many to insiders, right?
That's exactly what we've covered several times,
right.
In Cardano's, this is what went to the developers, this is what went to the team, this is public sale, stuff like that.
Right. So. And some are better than others. And when they're bad, like when a big amount goes to insiders, like for example, Solana, yeah. It's known, and we talk about it, and some of us are like, I'm not buying it because of that. And others are like, I don't care. I'll jump on board with these venture capitalists. And that's fine. But it's not. It's Charlie doesn't get it. That really, I don't think that is an issue. I mean, there's an issue with them being some, very few probably, but some being projects that have no intention of going forward. But hey, buyer beware to some extent. All right.
Yeah.
And then let me make another analogy. You talk about the public stocks, which is all Berkshire Hathaway invests in, right? They invest in public. Same thing, right? Insiders, of course they got. What do you think when Microsoft went public? You don't think Bill Gates got a big chunk of that?
No.
Yes. It's
he couldn't, Brian, right?
So that's the same. All right. And then he basically says, there's a gap. Cryptocurrency is a gambling contract with a nearly 100% edge for the house. It should be banned.
No.
So again, I don't see that.
And there's no supporting evidence. It's just
I don't see
what we're reading is what's in the article.
Right. So it's just I guess he's against insiders, getting the shares or the tokens at a lower price than what later the public gets it for. But Charlie, that happens every initial public offering. That's the case. So I don't really get your objection there. All right. So he says it should be banned. And here's two precedents that Charlie says why it should be done. Number one, the communist government of China has recently banned it.
That was a wild.
That's one of his arguments.
Wild statement. Yeah.
And you know what we say to that? Yeah, Charlie, of course they did. Because why? Because crypto is pro-democracy. It's pro-capitalism. It's pro-fair opportunity for everybody. That's exactly what the China government doesn't want. So of course they did that. What do you want the U.S. to be like China? Really? Is that? I mean, that's your argument? It's mind-boggling how stupid that is.
It's just wild arguments with little. I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
And then here I love the second. The second one I don't think it can be worse than that, but it's almost as bad. He says in the early 1700s, England reacted to the South Sea Company bubble. If anybody remembers that, it's pretty famous.
Well, he remembers it because he was probably around.
He might have been around by banning all public trading in new common stock for the next 100 years or so. And then he says, and England did well. First I would say, wouldn't that same logic then mean that?
Wait, hold on. It led strongly in both Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution to boot.
Right. So England did well after they banned all new initial public offerings, basically. So, wouldn't that same logic apply to everything your company invests in, Charlie, meaning stocks? So like after Enron, you wanted the United States for 100 years to ban new initial public offerings? And maybe the United States would do it. That's number one. And number two is, where's the cause and effect, Charlie?
Brian, you're just not enlightened.
I guess not. But so they ban something, but the country does well after that. Oh, well, that's a cause and effect. Well, that's ridiculous. So, Charlie, under your theory, you are anti-capitalism. You're anti-publicly traded stocks, which is all your company invests in. Your boss, Warren Buffett, that's all he invests in. Yes, you probably rode on his coattails all these years, but don't you understand that what you're saying would ban exactly what you've been doing for the past 197 years? I don't know. Anyway,
and Brian, this is hard to say. I have to say, no disrespect, but this is similar to the Christmas vacation dinner scene where they let Aunt Bethany give the speech, and she starts reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. It's just like, Munger sent in this article, and the Wall Street Journal is like, "Whoa, it's our old pal Munger. Let's have a spot." And it's like,
right. Let me tell you. This is what I say. Ross, it's so obvious, and Charlie Munger is probably a smart guy, and he's probably contributed to the success of Warren Buffett, but he clearly has zero idea of anything about crypto. And I say, shame on the Wall Street Journal for publishing this. There's no other word but ridiculous and shockingly stupid article.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Well said. Well said.
I'm done.
And folks, we've only scratched the surface today,
right.
because we're going to get very heated at this next segment where we talk about, staking. And, I feel like the headline, or the clickbait headline now, is that, SEC is coming after staking. I don't really know if that's true from what we're seeing as an example from this SEC versus Kraken case. But first, let's just take a look at kind of how these events transpired. And I realize you probably can't see this tweet if you're watching on YouTube. So
there it
blow
is.
it up a little bit. But, first, Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, tweets this out. We're hearing rumors that the SEC would like to get rid of crypto staking in the U.S. for retail investors. I hope that's not the case, as I believe it would be a terrible path for the U.S., as that was if this was allowed to happen. And, this is a whole thread here. So, but this kind of took everyone like off guard, like, whoa, what the heck's happening? And of course, if Brian's going to tweet this out, something else is coming.
Yeah. And this came out, before the news of the actual settlement between the SEC and Kraken. So
yeah, was this a day or?
I think just a day, I think. Yeah.
But the 8th. Yeah, that was the day before it. Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people saw this, including us, and we thought, we all thought, geez, Armstrong wouldn't do this without knowing something, and he wouldn't. But that statement that you just read is incorrect. The SEC would like to get rid of crypto staking in the U.S. for retail customers. Absolutely not what actually came out from this. So the next day, right, is when we hear about the SEC settlement with Kraken. Kraken, there you go. So the SEC simultaneously issued the complaint that they filed against Kraken, along with the announcement that Kraken had settled with them. And it regards the settlement regards the Kraken staking program. And, the details here are critical, because the Kraken,
very critical.
Right. Yep. And I've read the complaint of the SEC complaint against Kraken, and they allege that the Kraken staking program, now a lot of these exchanges have it, right? But the SEC only has authority over U.S. exchanges. So basically, Kraken, Coinbase, and Gemini. I mean, I don't know. Are there any others?
I guess that's
But those are the big ones, at least.
Those are the big ones, yeah.
But and they all have staking programs. I think. I don't know anything about Gemini. I don't use Gemini.
And I guess the terminology we're using here is kind of staking as a service, if you will. So these exchanges will stake, if you stake through their platform. Yeah.
Right. If you're on these exchanges, you probably know, if you buy a staking coin or token, and actually in the complaint, as examples only, the SEC has listed as examples of staking tokens or coins, ETH, ADA, Polkadot, and Atom. Right. Those are just the examples. And that's not in any way alleging anything against those. It's just saying these are some popular staking coins.
Oh, sorry. This is
that's the complaint.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're just
right. So basically, then what they allege is that Kraken, in its staking program, had a lot of failures to disclose very important aspects of that staking program. And some of them examples are the missing information that Kraken should have disclosed were the fees charged by Kraken. Well, yeah, I kind of agree with that. What Kraken does with the funds, and it says, are they making other uses with them? And again, you can kind of see the analogy here to what was happening over at Sam Bankman-Fried, right?
Oh, exactly.
FTX.
Yeah. Yep.
Are they then taking them and investing that? Again, that's fair. They should say whether they're doing that or not. And then here's critical too. In their terms of service, Kraken said that it had the right not to pay any return at all at its discretion. So even though it said, hey, you might get returns on, I don't know, for example, your Atom staking of 12%, if you read the fine print, it said, but we don't have to pay you anything. And another thing it said later on in the complaint said investors in the Kraken program receive a reward determined by Kraken, not by the underlying blockchain protocol. And then later, paragraph 46 said Kraken does not disclose its cut or its fee for this. So that's pretty significant, I think, failures of Kraken to, first of all, disclose these kind of obvious things that they should disclose. I don't know really why anyone would have done it, not knowing what their cut is. Like I think you and I have said, we both have some staking we do on Coinbase. Well, Coinbase discloses their percentage.
Yeah.
And so you can decide, do I think that's too high? If so, I'm not going to do it. Do I think it's too low? Or do I think it's, acceptable? Then, okay, I'll stake with them.
Yeah.
So
just real quick, Brian, we have a funny pun coming in here.
Yes.
SEC is cracking the whip.
Cracking the whip.
Well, he corrects.
I guess
SES.
Yeah. That's
very
Rhett.
nice. Rhett, love it.
Rhett, love it. Thanks for the input, bro.
But yeah, Brian, it's just like, I see this just as an epic failure on the Kraken legal team. Like, why did they not have proper legal folks to review these disclosures or lack thereof and say, well, what the heck, guys, we got to lay this out.
Right. Or these patently unfair terms of service.
Yeah.
Where you can say, they're in the fine print of a terms of service that nobody actually reads. You say, oh, we can actually decide to pay nothing. And that is repeated several times in the SEC complaint. So that is very significant here.
And I know people might be fishing for a reason. The only thing I can think of is that, with staking, they're slashing. So I think Kraken's just trying to cover itself with slashing in case that happens to them. I don't know. I'm trying to give a reason for why they have that verbiage in there. But
why they would have it is
still sketchy.
It's because they felt they could get away with it. That's what I think. They wanted to leave themselves all
that's the worst case.
Options. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the markets reacted to this, right? Both to Brian Armstrong's tweet and then to the announced settlement. But, I think the market overreacted because this to me is a nothing burger because
love it.
It's very limited, right? It's limited to Kraken in this overreach. And like you said, their legal team didn't do a good job of saying, oh, wait, this should not be in our terms of service. Are you kidding me? And saying, oh, guys, we need to disclose our fee, our cut for all of this. Oh, I love that. Nothing burger.
It's a nothing burger.
Right. And I think a lot of the initial reaction to this, was misimplied by Brian Armstrong's tweet is it's an attack on staking. Absolutely not an attack on staking.
Exactly.
It's an attack on staking as a service that overreaches like Kraken's did. But let's talk about Coinbase's response, right? Because the obvious implication here is USC only has authority over America or United States. What other exchange could be implicated by this? And the number one answer is Coinbase. And Coinbase immediately came out after the terms of the settlement were disclosed, and their chief legal officer basically showed the differences between their staking program and the Kraken staking program. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, a great analogy I heard from Brian Armstrong. I think it was on his Twitter. I should have pulled that up for you. But anyway, he's trying to say, Kraken, they're pulling everything together and lumping it all, which I guess kind of is what Coinbase is doing, a little different. But what Coinbase is doing is offering staking more of like a software service. Of course, with staking, you need a computer to do the validation and also coins to put up to win the validation node or validating of the transaction. So Coinbase is saying, hey, we're giving you the hardware if you give us the staking, coins, and we'll help you do the validation piece from a hardware software perspective.
Right.
So, and then they take a fee for doing that. So that's how they're differentiating yourself, and they're disclosing that, which is the main key here. But
right, well, true. And I agree, almost. So if what Coinbase is saying is true, and I haven't totally verified that, although I understood from my, research before I staked some things with Coinbase was, okay, here's what they do. Here's the cut they get. And it's essentially a cut of what you get, of what they get from the protocol, right? So if in general we get $100 from the protocol, from meaning, I don't know, for example, ADA, from staking, you get all the stakers get whatever, 80% of that. We keep 20%. That's our fee. Okay, I get that. That's fair. Well, I don't know if it's fair. It's up to you if it's fair or not.
Well, yeah, that's exactly
disclosed, right?
Yeah,
it's
know that up front.
You know that
you've got that decision to make,
right? And I don't. My understanding was that, okay, Coinbase, you're not taking my stake and doing something else with it. Meaning investment wise, like FTX did. Yep. You're taking my stake and you're staking it, or you're staking it except for some reserve that you have for people who want to immediately redeem. And I think, that's fair and sort of well known as well, right? So one of the benefits you get from this, Ross, let's talk about the benefits to the staking as a service to consumers.
Oh, okay. I like that.
And first, it should be known that all the different coins have different requirements, right? So, but for example, the biggest one, ETH, has a minimum staking amount. And we think it's something like 32 ETH, I think.
Yeah, I thought that was it. I'll look it up real quick.
Right. And so, at current amounts, that's a good chunk of money that a lot of people couldn't do. They can't get 32 ETH, so they can't stake it. But yes, you can if you go to one of these staking as a service through Coinbase.
32 ETH.
32 ETH. That's a lot of money. A lot of people can't afford that. So, but they would like to stake. They would like to get a return, right? They would like to get some interest or interest equivalent on their ETH. So this is great for the consumer if it's done properly. Another thing with the ETH has a lockup. You can't take your ETH out, and everybody knows this. If you stake with ETH, you can't, withdraw it until they get to the next level, which they say is coming in March. But on staking as a service, you can on some of them, and I don't know. I mean, it all varies, but that's another benefit that these staking as services offer to consumers. Also, it's just easier in general. You don't have to take it off.
It's so much easier. Yeah.
You don't have to get the wallet. You don't have to get, then take it from your wallet and properly stake it. It's actually a service with value.
It's very similar to, I have some friends doing Airbnb rentals, and they just have a company that manages their Airbnb for them. Of course, they take a 20% cut. So it's very similar to that. And, you and I, Brian, have talked about doing staking just on our own, especially for ETH. And, we got to exactly what you're saying. We got to looking into it, and we're like, it's a lot of work. We could just stake on one of these exchanges and take that fee. Less work on us. So
and they're all very different, right? Like, so ETH has some minimums, it has slashing, it has tie-up periods, and then you look at ADA, it has none of those things. It has none of those. There's no minimum for ADA other than maybe one. I mean,
it's something real low that
everybody
really
can do, right? Everybody has 40 cents if they're going to do it. I mean, and so there's no minimum. There is no tie-up at all. It's always in your own custody. So, ADA has been saying, this is a
Cardano 5.5 ADA is required.
Is it 5.5? Yeah. So a couple bucks. So, ADA people are saying, this just shows that ADA is superior. Our staking is so easy. I mean, and there's some argument for that. But the thing is, in advance, up front, if you want to stake your ETH, you got to have 32. It's going to be locked up for this certain period. So anyways, I think the whole reaction of the market was totally misguided. It was based on assumed information that once we got the real information from the SEC settlement with Kraken and these statements from the SEC, from Gary Gensler, from the SEC enforcement chief, you see, well, no, it really was these problems that Kraken had. And obviously Kraken had them because they rolled over. They rolled over in a heartbeat.
Well, that's a very good point, Brian. When they got hit with this, they were like, okay, we'll settle. You're like, what?
Right, because
You
anybody
didn't fight
can
at
look
all?
like, what are they going to say? Oh no, our terms of service don't say that. Well, let's look at it.
Yeah.
So their terms of service literally said we don't have to pay you anything if we don't want, and that's just absurd. Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that got canceled. There
Yep.
shouldn't be terms of service that say that. So there you go. So now Gensler has indicated, oh, other app platforms better beware. And I guess I agree. If other platforms under the SEC jurisdiction are doing garbage like having a term of service says we don't have to pay you anything, well, then they should be punished. But Coinbase says, okay, we're not one of those. And Coinbase always says, and by the way, our staking as a service is not a security. So you have no authority or jurisdiction here anyway. But in any event, Gensler, who looks like that guy on The Simpsons. What was his name?
Oh, what's that guy's
Mr.
next door neighbor, right?
No, the guy who ran wasn't he the head of the nuclear plant, wasn't he?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's I'll think of him in a second.
Burns, Mr. Burns.
Mr. Burns. Yeah.
Burns, yeah. Anyways, Mr. Burns here has his little funny video, and it's not funny at all. He keeps making a pun between steak.
Well, if you're looking at the thumbnail on YouTube, that's where I got the steak, not steak, but the tone of this, I don't want to read just off this video, but the tone of this video is not, we're coming after staking. It feels very educational. This is what crypto staking is.
Yeah.
As long as you disclose, you're all good. That's the tone I got from this. I'll share this YouTube video of Gary Gensler going over this, but.
Okay. You mean it'll be in like below?
Yeah. I'll be in the description of the podcast and the,
a link in the description. Okay.
Yes, there you go.
All right. Yeah, but anyway, yes, what everyone should take away from this is they're not going after staking. If you're staking ADA, if you're staking Sol, if you're staking Atom, no worries whatsoever, unless you were staking it on Kraken, and then there's even no worries. They're just unstaking it. So what you would do is just take it off the exchange and stake it yourself.
Yeah,
but they're not going after staking tokens, not at all.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, when this was all coming out, Brian, I was so confused because I do some individual staking for Cardano.
Yeah, me too.
And I was just so like, how is this going to look? Like what can they do? I don't know. It was just very confusing. Right. So yeah, I think read into it. Yeah.
Brian Armstrong's original tweet, granted, he probably didn't have full information, but it was phrased, Mr. Burns,
Rhett commented in, Mr. Burns just failed.
But
he failed, Rhett.
He phrased it as, coming after staking, and that is just not the case at all. So don't worry about your staking token, your coins. That's not a thing. Only if you have them staked on one of these exchanges that may get attacked, even then, you're not going to suffer. You're just going to have to take them off the exchange and stake them yourself, which is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really not that hard.
And really, I don't think either one of us is a fan of doing a huge amount of staking on an exchange. I've got I think just one ETH on Coinbase. I'm not I'm not putting my whole ETH bag on even on Coinbase that I feel very trusted having my coin on there for a little bit of time. I'm not putting a large amount of my bag. I'll stake a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you and I are more comfortable with, taking stuff off an exchange, putting it into a wallet, transferring it from the wallet to something else. But some people just aren't comfortable with that. And I understand that. So I actually think the staking as a service actually is valuable for a retail customer. It's just got to be done right, which it looks to me like Coinbase is doing and Kraken wasn't.
Oh, exactly. I mean, Brian, even for me as a software developer, every time I have to transfer coin, to this day, my palms get sweaty. I have to look up, a tutorial to make sure I'm sending it to the right spot, to this triple check. It's going to Cardano wallet, it's epic paranoia time. So yeah, I totally understand it.
So we still need to get, everybody knows, we still need to get the UI better, in crypto in general, especially onboarding, offboarding, all that needs to become easier and simpler and less nerve-wracking. But it is what it is right now, and that just means that these exchanges are providing a service as long as they're doing what they say and saying what they do.
Yeah. As much as I don't like the SEC on this one, it's kind of like, I mean,
right. In
transparent,
hindsight,
it makes sense,
right.
you know?
My first reaction is the SEC under Gensler is always wrong with respect to crypto.
Mhm.
But as you look at the details of this, you can see Kraken just overreached. They just thought, you know what, we're going to get away with whatever we can, and then that way, whatever happens, we can't get blamed. But they overdid it, and they got called on it, and so they had no real defense, and so they just rolled over. You know what? In this case, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, man,
now look objectively. You know,
that's right. Let's not overreact out there, crypto world. This is not an attack on
another buying opportunity, Brian. Once
yeah.
once I saw the dip, I was like, yes, I just got my paycheck. Bam, let's go in.
Boom, boom.
Yep, love it.
All right, let's wrap it up, Ross. We're at like 30 minutes or a little over. So
oh yeah, a little over 30 minutes. It always lasts longer than I think, Brian. But hey, everyone, thanks for stopping by, joining the live stream. Next time I will have brews for brews and blockchain instead of this ugly, stupid water I have over here. But yeah, everyone check out thecryptomasters.com for all your crypto needs. We've got our podcast up on there, doing some blogging on there as well. So check it out. But hey, Crypto Masters.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Have a good one.
On to the Super Bowl.